area. Wells has served not just as a steward of the Ravinia Festival's music character, but its physical presence, ensuring that the festival grounds have become increasingly environmentally conscious and spearheading exciting new uses of the park. These changes have increased enjoyment and accessibility, making an evening at Ravinia an even greater pleasure. On behalf of my council colleagues in the city, please join me in celebrating Wells Kaufman's achievements as president and CEO of the Ravinia Festival and in congratulating him on his well-deserved retirement. And now I will read the proclamation, and apparently my dog also has something to say about all of this. Whereas Wells Kaufman successfully served Ravinia Festival as president and CEO for 20 years, bringing 500,000 people to more than 120 events each season, taking the not-for-profit from a $19 million company to a $40 million company, making Ravinia Festival an internationally renowned music festival, hosting the world's greatest artists. I do want to say that Wells has dogs, so I'm sure he's appreciating the barking dog in the background. Whereas Wells understood the symbiotic relationship between Ravinia Festival and Highland Park so well that he became a Highland Park resident and neighbor to the festival. And whereas Wells led Ravinia Festival through $65 million in infrastructure improvements, benefiting the park and the city with a water retention cistern, new restaurants, a new grand entrance with a railway underpass, and a dancing water sculpture. And whereas he acquired important works of art for the park, including sculptures from Richard Hunt, Pienza, Chadwick, and Botera. And whereas Wells elevated Ravinia's non-classical programming to the same stellar level of its classical events, and thus diversifying audiences by bringing in such artists as Sting, James Taylor, John Legend, and Aretha Franklin, along with Nora Jones, Los Tigres del Norte, Mary J. Blige, Lauryn Hill, Matchbox 20, and The Roots. Whereas he also sought outsized classical spectaculars, despite the fact that most shows are put on for just one night, including El Nino and the Gospel to the Other Mary, Golojov's Passion of St. Mark, and you guys are killing me, and Edebar, the world's first Zulu opera, Princess Magogo, and the still buzzed about Sondheim series featuring Ravinia's rotating repertoire company of Patti LuPone, George Hearn, Audra McDonald, and Michael Cerveris. And whereas he added video screens flanking the pavilion stage so that guests could see fine details such as the flying fingers of a pianist or the singing along face of a conductor. And he experimented heavily with video screens on the lawn in efforts to address Ravinia's long-term needs. And whereas Wells expanded the festival's summer conservatory, Ravinia Staines Music Institute, and its Reach, Teach, Play education programs, which serve 85,000 people each year, he adopted the immersive El Sistema method of teaching music as a means of social change, creating student orchestras for schools without programs of their own in Cook and Lake counties by providing the curriculum, instruments, and teachers. And whereas he positioned Ravinia as a commissioning body for new works from such composers as Ned Rorem, Ramsey Lewis, Osvaldo Golojov, Bill T. Jones, and many others. And whereas he programmed a 2-year Bernstein celebration that included the rarely performed Mass, which required 200 people on stage, including the Highland Park High School Marching Band. The encore performance of Mass was aired nationally on PBS, and Kaufman was named a Chicagoan of the Year by the Chicago Tribune for his championing of the Bernstein Centennial. And whereas, as a programmer of both classical and non-classical concerts, Wells recognized Ravinia's unique opportunity to introduce symphonic music to the park's patrons of pop, jazz, country, rock, and other forms. He spent 10 years with the Ravinia family developing the Ravinia Music Box Experience Center, an interactive small theater and adjacent museum gallery, which will open fully to the public in 2021. And whereas, aside from programming the festival and running its administration, Wells also found time to play the piano, which he especially loves doing for Ravinia students and fellows of the RSMI program, but also sharing the stage with such artists as Nicole Cabell, James Galway, and Lisa Fisher. And whereas he did all of this during extraordinary times, with the terror attacks of 9/11 closing out his first season and the pandemic of 2020 silencing his final summer. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Rotering, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, we hereby extend to Wells Kaufman our deep appreciation for his many years of distinguished service to Ravinia Festival and offer our best wishes for many years of happiness in the future. So join me, please, in thanking Wells. And Nick, I'm hoping to hear from you or from Wells or Russell.
Hello, did Wells not make it on?
We do not see him.
Okay, he was having some trouble. But
there he is. There he is. He's there.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, and now he's gone again.
Yeah, I've been having, mine also said, like your personality, your internet is unstable. And so it just keeps.
It says Wells is back.
All right, great.
I promoted him. Wells, it looks like your video is off. If you'd like us to see you, just turn your video right on. There we go.
There we are. Can you hear me?
We can, and I hope you appreciated the dog barking through the first half of your proclamation.
Whose dog was that? That dog was great. I want to know, because it was a great voice, great sound. We should use that dog in the future. Thank you so much for this lovely proclamation. I really do appreciate it so much. And the relationship with the city of Highland Park is a key part of Ravinia's success, whether I'm running it or Zarin Maida or Ed Gordon, or my successor, my dear friend who I've known for over 25 years, Jeff Hayden, who I know you're all going to enjoy working with a great deal. That cooperation between this marvelous city filled with so many arts-loving patrons with such a huge focus on education has allowed for a connection specifically to Highland Park High School and focus on the arts, which is one of the great joys of my time, aided and abetted by Nick and his creativity. And I have to say that as a former marching band member myself, to bring the Highland Park High School marching band into not just one performance, but two performances with the Chicago Symphony and Marin Alsop and Paula Jacques, but also television all over the world was incredibly important to me and to all my aching feet from all that marching I did when I was in high school myself. But the most important thing, someone asked me the other day, what do I feel I've really left as a legacy for Ravinia? And I have to say, I got rid of the shushers.
Thank you.
Which was important to do. We were finding out that those nice ladies and gentlemen who had those big signs that said, "Shut up" on the lawn, were scaring children to the point where they never wanted to come back, not just for a Chicago Symphony Orchestra concert, but for anything else that would play at Ravinia. And this was a very simple survey of terrified children. So we have made children happy all over the world. They come and hear concerts. And of course, my successor will have the great joy of experimenting further with screens on the lawn. Because in fact, screens on the lawn and the screens in the pavilion, since a lot of the lawn audience can see those screens, if you're in the show, you're seeing the show. If you're seeing the show, you're in the show, and you actually stay more quiet. And that's a big part of getting rid of the shushers. It's all part of the same strategy. So that's my MBA part of the evening. I know you have a big meeting and a big agenda. Great pleasure. I'm looking forward to watching what happens in Highland Park and at Ravinia over the years. It's hard to get up and move house when you're in the middle of a pandemic. So you're going to be seeing me at Sunset Foods and Country Kitchen and everywhere else that John and I typically go. And thank you again for all the warm support, love, and ingenuity that makes this relationship between this great city of Highland Park and Ravinia happen. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Wells, and we appreciate your partnership and your friendship, and look forward to seeing you at the grocery store, and wish you, of course, all the best heading forward into your next chapter. Thank you for being such an important part of our city. Thank you.
Thanks. Many thanks.
I will continue on with the report of the mayor. It is important to note that September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. This is an opportunity to raise awareness around those affected by suicide and reduce the stigma surrounding this important topic. We know that the COVID-19 pandemic has increased stress and anxiety, and earlier this week, the Lake County Health Department stated that 55 individuals in Lake County have died by suicide this year, an increase compared to last year. It's vitally important that we learn to identify the warning signs of suicide and know how to connect at-risk individuals with appropriate care. Free and confidential help is available 24/7 via phone, text, or online services. and the Lake County Health Department staffs an in-person 24/7 clinic in Waukegan. It's my hope that tonight's proclamation demonstrates to our community, especially our young people, that there is no shame in seeking mental health care, and that with education and empathy, we can all learn how to support our friends and family members in times of need. Whereas September is known as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, which helps promote resources and awareness around the issues of suicide prevention, it teaches how to help others and how to talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. And whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, or background. And whereas suicide is the third largest cause of death among young people. And whereas Highland Park is no different than any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place our full support behind local educators, mental health professionals, athletic coaches, teachers, and parents as partners in supporting our community and simply being available to one another. And whereas local and national organizations like Suicide Prevention Services are on the front lines of a battle that many still refuse to discuss in public. And whereas the youth of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all fighting our own battles. And whereas I encourage all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors over the next few days, weeks, and months, and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Rodring, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, and the City Council, do hereby proclaim September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and urge the residents to learn about available resources and how to talk about suicide without the risk of harm. Continuing on with the mayor's part of the program, under other business, we have the recognition of the 2020 Distinguished Budget Award from GFOA. The Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, has once again recognized the City of Highland Park with the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. This award reflects the city's commitment to maintaining the highest standards of government budgeting. Each year, the GFOA holistically assesses an entity's budget document, evaluating how well it serves the community as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. This recognition is a testament to the dedication of the city in providing Highland Park residents with clear and transparent policy planning and budgeting. In particular, I would like to recognize City Manager Geeta Newkirk, Finance Director Julie Logan, the Finance Department staff, and all department directors for this achievement. I encourage everyone to visit online cityhpil.com/budget to view the budget document and learn more about the scope of the city's work. Geeta, did you or Julie want to say anything, or should we continue on?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I just want to give special recognition to you and the council, truly, because your thoughtful and sound policy decisions that you make on a regular basis definitely contributes to the stability of the city and our fiscal stability and our overall management of the organization. So special thanks to you. We have a number of our department directors on the call. I do want to recognize them, as well as all of our supervisors and really all employees, because we treat the budget and just fiscal management of the city as everyone's responsibility. And so we are regularly challenging each other of how we can be creative, how we can manage our expenses, and look at varied revenue streams. So we're not reliant on any single source of revenue. So it's definitely a team effort, and it starts with Mayor and City Council. So thank you for your leadership.
It's our pleasure. And as everybody knows, we've been working on our budget pretty much since April and look forward to having those conversations in the coming weeks. But thank you to our staff and to our team. Great job. It's now my pleasure to introduce Lake County Board Member Paul Frank and Lake County Clerk Robin O'Connor, who join us this evening to share information about the 2020 general election voting process. Board Member Frank previously served as a Highland Park City Council member from 2011 to 2016 and now represents residents of Highland Park, Highwood, and Deerfield. Board Member Frank and Clerk O'Connor will provide highlights of Lake County's initiatives to ensure that voters can safely exercise their right to vote during the COVID pandemic. One step taken to ensure safe in-person voting this year was the move of early voting from the police department to the Highland Park Country Club. I repeat, early voting has moved from the police department to the Highland Park Country Club. And early voting at the Country Club runs from October 19th, 2020 through November 1st, 2020. Lake County government has been a valued and integral partner in responding proactively to COVID, and we appreciate our colleagues at Lake County for taking the time to share this important information with us today.
Good evening, Mayor
Hello,
Rotering,
Paul.
former City Council colleagues, Manager Newkirk. It's a real pleasure to be with you virtually tonight. Thank you for allowing me to provide you with a couple of brief updates. I'm really happy that Lake County Clerk Robin O'Connor was able to join us. I'm going to allow her to talk a little bit about voting and election procedures. Mayor, if you will indulge me, I just wanted to give a couple of brief updates on some other county-related business that may be of interest to the council and probably Julie Logan especially.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to let you know that we received an important update from the U.S. Treasury Department about a week ago. As you're all aware, we've had a special committee at the county board to oversee the distribution of CARES Act funds that were allocated to Lake County. And the federal guidance for those funds has changed no less than 5 times since the end of May. I really want to thank you, Mayor, and Manager Newkirk for being so responsive and quick to answer questions from our city staff about how we can get some of those funds to municipalities who are really, delivering needed service and protection for our communities during the pandemic. What our board has tried to do is address many areas of need with the funding. First and foremost, we pushed some funds out the door to our townships and our human service partners who provide food assistance and housing supports. Secondly, we created a brand new small business assistance grant program from the ground up. Several Highland Park businesses did apply and will be receiving assistance under this program. That is not a loan and will not require repayment. At the end, I expect that we will be issuing more than $16 million in grants to Lake County small businesses under this program. And lastly, most importantly to Julie, as I mentioned, the Treasury Department has modified some of its rules around reimbursement for COVID-related expenditures. And we do understand that municipalities are anxious to receive their funding under this program. And as a county, we never wanted to be in a situation where we were liable for repayment of funds to the U.S. Treasury. And so we've been very cautious in reviewing expenses that were submitted for reimbursement. But under this new rule change, the reimbursement will simply be per capita based, and that will allow some of those checks to get out the door much sooner. And I anticipate that our special committee will approve those formula changes, and the board will be approving some of those changes very shortly. So thank you for indulging me. Last but not least, we are trying to follow the city's lead, and we're making some progress to develop a bird-friendly building design ordinance. And we also approved a net zero 40/40 carbon emissions goalpost for the county. So that all said, thank you for your partnership with Clerk O'Connor to move the early voting site to the Country Club. Clerk O'Connor, are you with us?
There I am. Here I am. Thank you very much, Paul. I don't think we could have really managed such a smooth transition without your help. So thank you for inviting me, all of you. And yes, the Highland Park Police Station the early voting will be happening at the Highland Park Country Club. We're excited for that and very grateful. 2 weeks is often difficult to find another site to take over that responsibility. So the idea that the Highland Park Country Club has volunteered to do this great responsibility for the citizens, I think is marvelous. So just to let you know, they have said yes, and it will be that 2-week period. Something that we're doing this year that we have not done in the past. Early voting sites often have had different hours and days, and we decided that that was just confusing. So we have decided to have all the days and all the hours of early voting be the same and be consistent. For example, on Sunday, some of the sites used to close earlier, and they're going to be all closing at 5 o'clock. So that is to us a very nice change. I also want to say thank you to your superintendent of District 112, Michael Lubefeld, Dr. Lubefeld. He also was very gracious and helped us find a site. We agreed on Red Oak School, and that will be the voting site for the day of. And this is important because we are fortunate to have schools available this year due to the governor's order by having schools and government buildings celebrate Election Day as a holiday. This has given us an opportunity to use schools for this purpose. So I feel that Highland Park Police Station, the move there to Highland Park Country Club and also using Red Oak School will work out wonderful. And of course, all of our voters will get cards that will explain their changes so that they're well versed and understand the change. Just to give you a quick update, we are going to, still consistently have obviously those 3 different choices to vote. If you are voting on the day of, we have great COVID measures taking place, including sneeze guards, and we will have all of the standards that we are expecting for PPE and for safety. We want voting to be safe, secure, and comfortable and welcoming. We will have our early voting, as we stated. We're very excited about that. We are also opening up a new site at the Lake County Fairgrounds. And so that's something new and different that we're adding. So instead of 16 early voting sites, we will have 17. At all of these early voting sites, including yours, in your community, there will be an internal drop-off box. So individuals, if they choose to take their vote by mail ballot and they want to drop it off, they can go ahead and go walk right into the early voting site and drop this off. We selected the early voting sites because there is a judge there keeping an eye on it. And again, we want the ballots within those boxes to be safe and secure. We will have 4 external boxes, and the decision for where those were located was really based on a simple criteria of having a lit area, being bolted down, and most important, to have cameras. We look at this as a pilot. We hope that on January 1st, this initiative is continued. So for this election, the external boxes will be at our branch courts in Vernon Hills, Mundelein, Round Lake Beach, and in Park City. And again, the reason that we selected those was basically because of the camera and the 24/7 lit, and also to have security during the day when we pick up these ballots, and these ballots will be picked up by judges. So just to give you that insight, all 3 vote by day, vote on site at that day, the polling site, early voting, and then we're also offering the mail-in. And just to give you a little insight, people are always fascinated by some facts. The last election that we had in 2018, we had about 34,000 vote by mail ballots cast. This election, through the application format that was also through the governor's order, sending individuals who voted in 2018, 2019, and the primary of 2020, we have had over 100,000 vote by mail applications received. And on September 24th, we will be sending out the vote by mail ballots. Please keep in mind that as well as those applications received, we have 3 permanent lists. We have a permanent list for vote by mail applications, and that's a permanent list that somebody can sign up for. We also have a student vote by mail application for students that are on college, and it's a 2-year site that you can sign up for. And we have a lot of individuals that are our snowbirds, and we have a vote by mail application format for them as well. We expect well over 100,000 vote by mail ballots to be sent in. And I can say you with great confidence, we are ready. We will have judges to receive and look at signatures. We have policies. A lot of press is going out saying that if a ballot does not have a signature match or doesn't have a signature, we throw them away. We do not do that in Lake County. We reach out to the individuals and we show them how they can correct the issue. And again, elections are not considered finished until 2 weeks after the election. So there is time for people to fix the issue and have their ballot counts. We really try at Lake County Clerk's Office to value each ballot and make sure that people's voices are heard. And we are looking for a very safe, secure, and we want it to be a comfortable experience for all voters. So I'm very pleased about the Highland Park Country Club, and I think they're really doing a great service for your community.
Thank you. A couple of questions, and congratulations, Clerk O'Connor. This is going to be a fun one. I can tell already. But we're pleased that early voting is now moving to the country club. Will there be signs posted at the police station? Because I know several of our senior residents may not even be on social media, may not be aware of the change of location, may have a challenge just getting out to vote one time. What kind of notice will be provided? Or is that on us?
No, we will provide signs. We will provide signs. But it is encouraged that through your office and through social media, and we will be doing our part, letting individuals know. Like I said, we will be sending out individual cards to residents, letting them know of the change. But we always think more is best. So the more we publicize and we inform, I think that hopefully we can reach everyone. And again, we will be giving the police station signs for them to post.
Great. And if people do want to use the Dropbox, they then need to go to basically early voting and just drop their ballot off. It's the same hours, the same days, and the same location?
Yes. If they want to use the drop-off box at the Highland Park Country Club, yes, they will just have to walk in. If they want to drive a little bit further, they can go to the external ones. And the beauty about that is they're open 24/7. So if you're out at 10 o'clock at night and you want to drop off your ballot, go for it. And again, you may use any of the other early voting sites to drop off, because they will also have, all early voting sites will have internal drop-off boxes, and we welcome everyone to use whatever one is convenient for them. If you're out and about and you want to go to the Lake County Fairgrounds and drop it off, that's fine too.
It's
Whatever-
important to note, though, they need to be in Lake County. Several people asked if they could drop them off in Glencoe or Northbrook. Those are Cook County. Do not drop your ballots off in Glencoe or Northbrook. Stay in Lake County and drop off your ballots in Lake County. Is one stamp going to be enough for the mail-in ballot, or do people need to get extra stamps?
No, one stamp, one stamp.
Terrific. And is voter power the best place to go at this point if people have questions about if they're registered or where to vote?
Very, very, very good, Mayor. Very good, Mayor.
We didn't even rehearse this, right?
Put you on the phones. Yes, go to voter power. And a lot of people have asked if they've mailed out their application. They're like, we haven't received notice. We have not sent out emails to let people know we received their application, but if they go to the voter power info, they can go there, and if they put their name in there, and even if like pretending that they're going to request, like go and do that, they will get a notice that says we've already received your application. And the ballots will be mailed out September 24th, which is, just a few days away.
Can you restate the web address for voter power so people know?
Yes, I will restate that right now. It's just lakevoterpower.info.
Lakevoterpower.info.
But here's
Okay.
another piece of advice. I forgot to say this, and this is important. We here during business hours answer a special phone number. Well, we answer everyone, but we've been promoting this number. It's 847-377-VOTE, VOTE, not V0, VOTE. And if you call, you can get answers to any of your questions. Or if you're stuck on the website and you need help, call us for anything. Anything at all, we will take you through a process and we'll answer all your questions. We will look up to see if your application has been received. We will help you in any way. And I'd like to say that generally, unless we have a flood of calls all at once, all of our phones we have answered very quickly.
Wonderful. Councilwoman Stone, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions as well. Thank you for this information. Do you have enough poll workers for election day and early voting, or are you still looking for volunteers for that?
We are constantly looking for more poll workers. So if you know anybody who would like to be a judge, we welcome you. Go ahead and call at 847-377-VOTE, and they'll connect you to our staff member who manages that. I will also tell you that something different with the governor's order. In the past, we used to have just juniors and seniors from the high school. be election judges. And what has changed is they have lowered the age to 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. And in the past, we used to have a grade point average, and we used to have their principal's signature on the form. We are not doing grade point average. It's a day of no school. And we welcome any student who wants to take our Zoom class, take our hands-on class. We've divided them into two. And most importantly, if they are willing to get up and be at a place at 5 a.m., we are interested in them. So if you know of young people that would like this experience, plus they'll get a little bit of money on that day. We welcome them. This is something I think that's exciting and adds another variable to election workers. So again, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, we're welcoming them. And if they have a friend, they can sign up with a friend and we'll try to keep them together.
Great. And do ballots need to be received by election day or mailed by election day?
Okay. Ballots need to be received if you're mailing them. If you're mailing them by election, they have to have that date stamp of November 3rd on them. If you are dropping them off at an external box, we have those few external boxes that will still be available at 7 o'clock. That is the time when election ends. So at 7 o'clock, those particular boxes, 4 external boxes, will be locked. So you can still drop them off in an external vote by mail box, but that will be closed at 7 o'clock, just like an election will be.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Clerk O'Connor? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we wish you all the best. And Paul, Frank, always great to see you. Thank you both for your work on our behalf at Lake County. Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Mayor.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And please call our number for any questions or concerns. All right. Thanks. Have a
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, continuing on with our agenda, our next item is business from the public. This is for citizens wishing to be heard regarding items not on tonight's agenda. City Manager Newkirk, do we have any business from the public that we've received either via phone or email?
There are none, Mayor. No.
Okay. Continuing on with scheduled business, items 1 through 10 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration. I am seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 10.
So moved.
Okay.
Councilman Holloman.
Yes, I wanted to pull one of the items. I think it's item number 8. The snow item.
Okay. So motion to approve items 1 through 7, 9, and 10, seeking amendment from my mover and seconder.
Fine.
Fine.
Okay. Any comments or questions on items 1 through 7 or 9 through 10?
Oh, sorry. I have a comment. I do have a comment.
Okay. On what?
I'm sorry. I think, Gita, can you confirm for me? I'm trying to pull, I want to make sure I'm pulling the right item.
That is
You're
correct.
looking at the one regarding sidewalks is item
Yeah.
8.
That is correct. Yes.
So right now we're
Okay.
taking action on 1 through 7, 9, and 10. Any
Okay.
public input on those items that we've received during the last 45
Mayor,
seconds?
If I may, just to assist Councilman Holloman, there are two contracts, or rather 3 contracts on the agenda concerning snow removal. 3 separate ones. It's items 6, 7, and 8.
Right. I believe her issue is with item 8.
Okay.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the vote on the items that have been noted?
Councilman Stolberg,
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone,
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman,
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg, Councilman Noble,
Aye.
Councilman Holloman,
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes and no nays. Items 1 through 7, 9, and 10 have been approved. Item 8 is a resolution authorizing renewal of the 2018 to 2019. I think you mean, are we renewing those contracts, 2018 to 2019?
Actually, Mayor, it's the 2018-2019 contract that is being renewed for a 1-year term for 2020-2021.
Thank you. A residential plowing for routes 1 through 6 contract with Snow Systems of Wheeling, Illinois. Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the fact that I'm not particularly supportive of the decision that we made a few years ago to plow all of the sidewalks. I find that the program is confusing for people. Nobody really understands that it's only over 4 inches. And so people aren't differentiating between the 4 inches and 2 inches of snow. I think it's an added expense that we don't necessarily need to bear. And I've not heard positive feedback about the execution of it. In fact, I've heard a lot of negative feedback about the quality and this basically people are walking over it for 2 days and it's turning into ice before they even get plowed. So I'm thinking at this point with our budgetary restrictions and the need to prioritize that it is not something that we should do. Just I'm fine with plowing around the train stations and things like that, but in terms of, I think we should go back to a system where individual homeowners are responsible for shoveling their walks. I think it's clearer and more easily understood.
Ironically, they're always responsible, but this was for major snow events. But I understand what you're saying and hear what you're saying. Councilman Noble.
Am I on? Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
I had asked a question prior to this meeting as well, which I would like clarification because it dovetails into this. I was wondering, I thought we discussed cutting it due to budgetary constraints, and then City Manager Newkirk responded that we were reducing how much salt we were purchasing, and I didn't know one had to do with the other. If we're taking money out of salt to do sidewalks, I'm not supportive of this because our roads really come first before our sidewalks. So, and I don't disagree with Councilman Holloman. We're in a point where we were looking to cut our budget to save some money. This is a place where we could do it, and everybody, hey, community, let's be in this together and shovel your own sidewalks this year. And if we have to, reevaluate next time. But could you go back and talk to the council about the budgetary constraints and where we were maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul on sidewalks versus streets?
Absolutely. Very good question, Councilman Noble. So we're not necessarily taking funds from one service and applying it to another service. As it pertains to our salt budget, we do have less funds this year for salt. And that's only because in the last winter, we didn't use any salt. We typically purchase 4,000 tons of salt a year. We used 3,000. So we have 1,000 tons of salt that are available for yet this year in case we get snow. So we would be purchasing less salt to start. And then we typically, as you well know, we typically buy salt from 2 sources. One is the state contract, and then one is the Lake County contract. The state contract we've seen significant increases in the salt prices for those contracts. So for example, and I talked to Ron Bannon earlier, so sharing these numbers that he had provided to me. So last year we were purchasing salt from CMS, which is the state contract, at $95 a ton, which was up from $44 a ton. And Lake County's contract is $64 a ton. So what the plan is this year is actually to purchase all of our salt from Lake County. So we're also getting it now at a reduced price, which again is saving us money too. So it's difficult because we budget for salt before the snow season, obviously. So we don't really, it's hard to anticipate how much snow we're going to have. And it's hard to anticipate because we cross 2 fiscal years in the season of how much salt we're going to have and how much we're going to buy. So we feel comfortable of where we're at now. But certainly if we have a disaster, then we would be coming back to the city council for an amendment.
Thank you. Councilman Stolberg and then Councilwoman Stone.
Thank you, Mayor. One question for City Manager Newkirk. When you say, and I understand we have leftover salt because we didn't have a lot last year. When you purchase salt, when the city purchases salt based on assumptions and average amount of snow falls in the season and 40 inches or whatever it is, do we buy all of our salt? You mentioned Lake County at $65 a ton. Do we buy it all up front, or do we wait per event and then risk, mid-season if we've had a big January, all of a sudden everybody's out and we go to $150 a ton? So how do we protect our investment? The salt doesn't expire. We know, what it costs at the beginning of the year. Do we buy it all up front, or do we, fill as we need it?
This is where we talk about the dome, right?
We talk about the dome.
I didn't put that on that, just dome.
So our salt dome only has a capacity to hold no more than 2,000 tons of salt.
Okay.
So 50% of capacity of what we typically use in a snow season.
Okay.
And so
So we are refilling.
So, right, we take as much as we can, but we make a commitment to buy. So we make sure that we have it, but we can't get receipt of that because we don't have the capacity to store.
And I think it's important to remember during the polar vortex when the river was freezing and everybody needed salt and the salt couldn't get here, the price went through the roof. So therein lies one of the great challenges every season, not knowing what the second half of the use for the fiscal year is going to be. If you think about snow from January till March and then October till December, you know, it's two different seasons, but it's the same year. It's kind of a challenge.
But we do feel comfortable in what we're budgeting for salt and in what we have thus far.
Thanks. One more question, Mayor, if I may. I tend to agree with Councilor Holloman and Noble. I too got a lot of feedback about, hey, you know, 4 inches, by the time they get out here and the snow's so much, it's a bigger mess than when we started because it's just compacted ice and everything else. But as always, the communication and the educational component is so very important because even at 4 inches, I was getting questions or emails or on Southwest Highland Park or some of these other pages, hey, it snowed 2 days ago and why isn't the city plowed? And we were constantly telling people, hey, we've gone from 2 inches to 4 inches. Now, if we're going to talk about eliminating it, it becomes all the more important on how we communicate it. And maybe in some mechanism after certain snowfalls, we remind people instead of just assuming they paid attention at the beginning of the year. You know, we issue alerts when the traffic is bad, when the snow is bad, to be careful with the plows. It wouldn't be, if we go down that route, or even if we keep it at 4 inches, I think some communication during the snowfalls would help people and maybe give Gita and her team and Ramesh and his team a little less to fight with all those phone calls on day of or day after saying, why hasn't someone been out yet?
Great point. Thank you. Councilwoman Stone and then Councilman Holloman.
Thanks. My understanding was that this was not a huge portion of the budget. Is that right, Gita?
This particular contract, the sidewalk contract?
Sidewalk contract.
Again, right, our historical financial impacts, 40,000 in 2017, 18, 57,000 in 18, 19, and we didn't hit it once over 4 inches of snow last season.
Okay. So we've done such a good job with our bike walk initiatives, with connecting sidewalk gaps and doing other things to make Highland Park bikeable and walkable all year round. And this to me is a big part of that, to be able to walk on the sidewalks and have assurance that they will be plowed when there's a larger snow. So to me, especially with people working from home more, kids doing school from home, people are out walking. On my walk today, I think I crossed the street 3 times in the first block because there were other people on the sidewalks. And I think having so many people out and about and walking hopefully will continue into the winter because COVID doesn't seem to be going away. So I'd like to make sure that the sidewalks are plowed. So I'm supportive of this.
Thank you. Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that this is not an insubstantial budget amount. Between $40,000 and nearly $60,000 in a year when we are trying to save every penny is substantial. And I think we do have an exceptional year in that there are a lot of people out walking. And if you are going to go out for a walk, you're not waiting 2 days for the city to plow your sidewalk. You're walking across that sidewalk and you're creating ice and slippery situations. So I think we also have a unique circumstance where the high schoolers are home. And so this is a great opportunity. I know we have a volunteer snow shoveling corps, but these kids aren't sitting on a bus for a half hour a day or waiting in line to go to school. They would have some additional time. And if there's neighbors in need or people need additional help snow plowing or shoveling rather, I think this could be a community effort, and the messaging is very clear. The city is not, shoveling. It's your job. You see it on billboards across the city of Chicago all the time, and the Kennedy when you drive into the city. It's very simple. Please go ahead and shovel your sidewalk. We appreciate your help. Do it as soon as you can. If you need assistance, call this, number and the city can help. I think it's very clear, very simple, and I don't think it's going to be less shoveling. I think it'll be done faster and better, actually.
There we go. Councilman Kaufman and then Councilman Noble.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we started this. If we, can enhance the education and the execution of it, there's always room for that, and I think that would be great. I do think that it's important. We've got a big population of seniors, and I think increasing people's mobility and the connectivity we have with the sidewalks. I do agree with Councilman Stone about that. I think it's important for people to be able to get out. Fortunately, we didn't incur any expense in this last year. Hopefully there will be no expense this year, but and no one can predict exactly what it is, but I don't think it's, it may not be what it was in 2017, 2018, or 2018, 2019. Maybe it's hopefully closer to 2019, 2020. I think it's worth keeping and publicizing and educating better and trying to help people get out as much as possible for their physical and mental health and socialization.
Councilman Bloomberg, we haven't heard from you.
I'm sorry. I thought Councilman Noble was next.
Pardon,
up.
Councilman Noble. I'm so sorry. Councilman Noble and then Councilman Bloomberg.
Thank you.
That's okay. I agree with what Councilman Kaufman just said. It's great for people to be out, but I'll be honest, this program has not been executed well. To Councilman Stolberg's point, I get a lot of complaints about it more than the positive. I have one neighbor who thinks it's great, but I'll be honest, we on my block recognize that the city wasn't doing a great job. I love to say when we do something well, we contract this out. We don't do it particularly well. I've got a bunch of neighbors that got together. We all own snow plows. And I'll tell you, I'm one of them. My husband, well, I send my husband out. He goes out there and he does from my house, like 10 houses down. Another neighbor does his house 10 houses the other way. Seniors can sign up for a volunteer program that the high school kids, actually it's the football team, are doing it. And we've had so much good feedback from them. This is a lot of money for something that we're just not executing well. If we executed well, I'd be right behind it. I'd be like, this is money well spent. But it's 2 days later, and I think Councilman Stolberg and Holloman said, it's iced over. I can tell you I have a dog. I walk the dog. I've already done mine. By the time the city gets out there, now they're running over my sprinkler heads. So I'm a little worried at a time when we've been pulling back to say, let's go do it's like throwing good money at bad is where I'm at with us.
Thank you. Councilman Kaufman, or Councilman Bloomberg. Sorry.
Thank you. I think I agree with what Councilman Kaufman had to say. I have heard some of the complaints. They're principally complaints about the manner in which the plowing is done. But it seems to me that since we've restricted it to heavier snowfalls, that's where the principal difficulty for residents and even football players to manage is if there's a particularly heavy snowfall. It becomes increasingly difficult for residents to do it. The complaint about consistency is a real complaint, and I would hope that our program, I would hope the message is getting through tonight, that the way this is being done needs to be done better, but I don't see that as a reason to discontinue the program, which is limited to heavier snowfalls. So I'm going to vote to extend the contract.
So this is something that we contract out for others. It's not our own city staff that's not executing correctly. This is a third party. And I guess the question is, what sort of accountability can we ascribe to them through our contract in terms of, I mean, it seems like every single year something breaks and then we're down to one plow and the poor guy is out there, day in and day out, incapable of covering the amount of linear miles that we have. It's a well planned and there's a good reason behind it. And I'm kind of torn because I share the frustration of it not really being done quickly in a timely way. The money is significant, but I also recognize the very, very critical and real part of people being able to get out of their houses and go for walks. That's going to be significant this year more than ever. So City Manager Newkirk, I guess I'm asking you, what can we do in terms of improving this, both in terms of timeliness, in terms of execution? You know, every so often someone's parkway is going to get a bit dug up, and we'll throw some grass seed out there and everyone will be fine in a few weeks after spring has come. But just in terms of it working, because it was a great idea when we first came up with it, and I know people appreciated it. But if it's, you know, a 50%, not a 90%, not 100%, how can we get better execution out of our contracting party?
Well, Mayor, I mean, if you allow me, I'd like to just confer with our public works staff. This is a contract. We've got close to 100 miles. And so it is difficult to cover all of those miles. And especially if you're talking heavy snow accumulation and with just, you know, the vast amount of area that they need to cover. But we can take a look. What is realistic of setting some metrics for them to make sure that they hit them, and what would those metrics be and how could they execute them? We do have some neighboring communities. Deerfield does not clear their sidewalks outside of their high traffic areas, but Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, some of our other neighboring communities do. So we can certainly
Glencoe does as well.
Right, in Glencoe, and see if they've got some performance measures in their contract.
That would be great. Councilman Stolberg and then Councilman Holloman.
Thanks, Mayor. Two questions. In my real job, other than sitting on city council, snow is one of our biggest challenges. It's almost a no-win. You know, if you plow too much, you've spent too much. If you plow too early, people complain about the noise and the backing up and the beep, beep, beep. Two questions for you, Gita. When we talk about 4 inches, you're talking about 4 inches per event, not an inch today, 2 inches tomorrow, 2 inches the next day. So when there's 5 inches on the ground, that sits until it melts unless it all accumulates in one occurrence, correct?
That's correct. And that's part of the complaint.
That's part of the complaining is educating, and people look at the cumulative effect and not that it snowed an inch for the last 4 days and it didn't snow 4 inches yesterday. The other thing, and I don't know if it's, you know, something achievable with your vendors and all of our snow contracts with our managed properties, we have an agreement with them that the company is out within 3 hours of the conclusion of the snow event. And obviously they have to travel safely and other stuff. I don't recall, and maybe I missed it. Do we have such a clause in these contracts?
Yeah, there's a time period. I don't recall what it is. There's a time period in which they have to respond. It's just a matter of just
the time it takes to do it.
Personnel, number of equipment, and clearing our entire community, as well as the demands of, I mean, it may seem like there are a lot of contractors out there, but there really aren't. And so we've got this one company and everyone they can hire with their equipment. And again, just as a reminder, I mean, this was competitively bid. So we did select the most responsible and most effective price as well at the time.
And someone's street has to be last, unfortunately. So
yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And do we prioritize arteries and corresponding streets first and then get to the smaller streets?
Yes.
Yep.
Biggest bang for our buck? Okay. Councilman Holloman and then Councilwoman Stone.
Yeah, not to belabor the point, but this year, we've tried this for 3 years, and it's a great idea, but as Gita said, there are 100 miles, and it is nearly impossible to do that in a timely way. And the cumulative effect, it gets, it's a problem that people aren't satisfied with the service we're providing, and yet we could be spending between $40,000 and $60,000 for a non-satisfactory service. So I think if any year is a year we've tried it for 3 years. If any year is a year to cut back, this is the year. And then let's see what kind of response we get. If we're not getting, if people are complaining and talking about how terrible it is, then we know what to do for next year. But in the pandemic, when we need to save money, this is the year to make that choice. We've had 3 years of experimenting. It hasn't gone great. Let's give it a try and not do it.
I'm all for fiscal responsibility. I'm also concerned, though, in a year when gyms are closed, if people are trapped in their homes, this might be the year to make sure they can go for a walk. Councilwoman Stone?
Thanks.
Great exercise.
I'm concerned about that as well, that people are going to be stuck in their homes, and it would be helpful for them to be able to get out on a plowed sidewalk. But I'm wondering whether, given the concerns that people have, whether we ought to send this back to staff, get those questions answered by the contractor, and see if we can improve it and bring it back
Agreed.
in an improved format,
Agreed.
so that it actually addresses the concerns that have been expressed about the contract, but it also deals with the concerns about making sure people can get out and walk.
Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, I just want to note on that, when I've had these conversations with Gita in the past, because we get a lot of complaints in Ravinia because there's a lot of walkers, right? And this stuff isn't done. And the answer has been, look, if you want to throw more money at the problem, then yeah, we can do more. But that's what the contractor is going to come back with, right? There's only so many people. There's literally people with snow shovels. If we want it done faster, we add more people and we add to the cost. So I'm not comfortable with the cost as it stands. I'm even less comfortable with the idea of improving service, which means increasing costs. So there's no magic, bullet here. It's you add more people and it gets done sooner. I'm not willing to go there.
Okay. I'm seeking a motion to postpone this and gather more information, see if there's a resolution before we vote it down. But it's up to you guys. Whoever wants to make that motion or make a different motion, go forth.
I'd make a motion to refer this to staff for further input, keeping in mind our concerns about the fiscal impact, as well as our concerns that we continue to make walking accessible during the pandemic, during the winter, if we have heavier snowfalls.
Second that.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Steve?
I just want to ask, because I haven't reviewed it fully, but I know that on agenda item 3 tonight, you approved the city's 2021 snow and ice control plan. Gita, I think it would be a good idea if Ramesh and Public Works reviewed that plan to see if any further tweaks are necessary, given the action that may be taken or may not be taken as a result of this review of the contract. I just would hate to, I don't know if there's a provision in that plan that requires this, and I just want to make sure that we're in sync ultimately. I don't think it requires you to take any different action than you're about to vote on or to reconsider item 3, but we may have to come back to you with item 3 if this is going to be changed.
Okay. Is 2 weeks a sufficient amount of time, or do you need a month?
We could bring it back on the 29th.
Okay. That's right. We're meeting on Tuesday in our next meeting. Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. I don't know if there's further comments. Any further comments? Okay. Will the clerk please call the vote?
I think Councilman Stolberg had his hand raised.
I just have a quick question, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. Councilman Stolberg.
Thanks, Ashley. The mayor doesn't like calling on me. I don't know what. I'm kidding.
No, I was looking at Dan.
I kind of agree with Councilman Holloman on this whole concept of what we're getting, but at the same time, Gita, and I know you work so hard on all these contracts, this is, the way it's bid is a function of pieces of equipment cost and man hours. So if they put 15 guys for 30 hours or 40 guys for 10 hours, the cost is the same. So is it a question of them allocating enough resources to do this job properly? Because if we did have a response time that was so much faster, I don't believe it should cost us any more money. I think they're just not throwing enough people at it. And it's what we pay is a direct correlation to how many hours are on the street plowing. So if it's 2 hours for a week or 40 hours and they blitzkrieg it for the first day, I think the impetus on them to make sure that they staff our project well enough to accomplish the goals and the time frame that we ask for. It's not a function of dollars. It's a function of them putting 20 people out instead of 4. Just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Let's go forward with the vote.
Councilman Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone.
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman.
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilman Noble.
Aye.
Councilman Hellman.
Nay.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 6 ayes and 1 nay. We will hear back from staff at our next meeting on Tuesday, September 29th on item 8. Thank you.
And Mayor, if I could just follow up. So depending on the policy decision that's made on this contract, if there is a decision not to proceed with clearing sidewalk, we will come back with an amended snow and ice control plan because it does reference sidewalks in there.
Nice catch, Steve. Okay, thank you very much, Gita. Thank you. Continuing on with our agenda, under other business, item 11 is consideration of a motion to extend the emergency declaration for the City of Highland Park, originally entered into on March 14th, 2020, in relation to the COVID pandemic. Gita, do you want to speak to this?
If the council is so inclined, we would recommend it to the next council meeting, which is September 29th.
The adjournment of the next council meeting.
The adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead, Kim.
Any comments, questions, concerns about that item? Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilman Stolberg. Councilwoman Stone.
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman.
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilman Noble.
Aye.
Councilman Holloman. Mayor Rotary.
Aye. 7 ayes and no nays. Item 11 is approved. Is there any business from the council? Is there any business from city staff?
I do, Mayor. I do have a report to share with you and the public this evening. So we have been operating and managing in this pandemic now for 6 months. I'm very careful not to say this is the new normal because I am confident that we are not going to be in a pandemic at some point. But until then, we are working diligently to communicate regularly with our government partners, with Lake County Health. We're doing a significant amount of public communication. And so I just want to use this as an opportunity to remind the public to please pay heed to the city's communication. We are regularly promoting the importance that Lake County Health and other health authorities are sharing, which is watching your distance, washing your hands, wearing a face mask, as well as other health and safety matters. So if individuals are not signed up for our e-news, we strongly encourage you do so. You can do so from our website. We're on social media. Our website is being updated on a daily basis. And again, as indicated, we continue to meet regularly with our government partners in Highland Park, as well as our neighboring communities, as we all share information as well as best practices. We continue to work one-on-one with businesses to support them to the greatest extent possible so they can continue to operate their business and do what they do best. So that's providing resources to them from the state, from regional organizations, as well as more local efforts. What can we do to best support them? As we look to the fall, we are looking to increase the number of curbside pickup signs, anticipating that specifically the restaurants are going to likely increase their curbside pickup service. We continue to work with businesses on amended applications for use of the city's public right-of-way, and we continue to offer those permits at no charge to businesses. We just want an opportunity to understand from them, and particularly at this time, are they going to have heating elements? Are they may not have a tent. Do they want a tent? Where is that tent going to be located? And how else are they going to use the public right of way? So all of our departments are working diligently, reviewing those applications, and we're trying to turn them around as soon as possible. And then we have put together guidelines for businesses. So we have guidance as it pertains to signs, tents, heaters, as well as just other elements that business should be aware of. So that's all on our website. We have a meeting coming up this Wednesday, the 16th, with all of our restaurants. So we're inviting them to join us for a virtual meeting so we can provide an update to them of what we are doing as a city to best support them. We are looking for their feedback of what more can we do. Businesses will also be sharing their best practices so they can learn from each other or things that they've read, so how they can continue to best serve the public. And then we'll have an element on our marketing efforts and just all the varied ways that we are doing to promote all the businesses in our community and as we continue to encourage the public to shop local. So shifting to the city's administrative buildings. So we continue to be closed for walk-in traffic, although work is underway. We are working 7 days a week, in many cases 24 hours a day. There are individuals in every single department working during business hours. And if an individual is working from home that typically answers the phone, that voicemail is being checked at least every hour. And so all those calls are being returned. If anyone from the public listening to this and if they don't hear back from someone, please call us back or contact the city manager's office, and we'll make sure that the appropriate staff professional gets back to you. We have received a number of questions as it pertains to permit activity. What's good for the economy is permit activity is actually very high right now. People are doing a lot of home remodeling projects. Businesses are looking at a number of improvements to make their businesses more safe. And so we are working diligently on the building and planning side. So just to give you just kind of an idea of the activity within that department, we've issued over 62 permits on average per week since January, and we average over 95 building permits per week during July and August. We are averaging over 200 building inspections and over 75 life inspections per week. So we recognize that people may be frustrated if they want feedback on their plan review or where's their permit. We are getting to everything really as quickly as we can. We're making sure that people have feedback as soon as possible so they can work with their contractors to make sure to get us all the information that we need in order to issue them a permit and then get their project approved as quickly as possible. I want to share just a couple of things from our senior center. Our senior center, although we're not doing any in-person meetings or programming, our seniors, we miss seeing them in person, but they are very busy and there are a number of different programs that we are coordinating in a virtual environment. So if you know someone who is a senior that isn't a member of our senior center, I strongly encourage you to check out our website, contact our senior center for membership information, or just join us as a guest so we can connect with you and your loved ones. We are doing check-ins on our senior members. We have over 900 senior adults that we are checking in on a regular basis, just making sure that they are aware that we're here from them, providing them referrals, resources, and services. We have a number of different, as I mentioned, virtual activities being planned. I told Laura, who's our senior center manager, that I can't wait to be a senior and join our senior center because they certainly do have a lot of fun. So there are Spanish lessons and they're doing different types of classes. We certainly have all the health and human services that we're providing to them, news and view discussion groups, virtual bingo, there's book club discussions, we have virtual concerts. So they are certainly offering a lot. We did open up our lending closet. So if anyone in the community is looking for a medical crutches or toilet seat, anything that may be needed on a temporary basis, we do have a lending closet that's available to our residents at no cost. So you can give us a call if you need anything in that regard.
Let's be clear. You're talking about shower seats and other seat like
medical.
Thank you. Durable medical equipment.
Durable medical equipment.
Medical equipment, yes. No, we're not like Home Depot in terms of that. So we have all this information and more on our website. So please check out our website if you're interested in any of our senior programming. And then just two other quick reports. We have scheduled a regional flood mitigation meeting on Wednesday, October 21st at 6 p.m. That is going to be a virtual meeting. Certainly all the municipalities in our area really have a robust stormwater management program, but continued coordinated efforts to address the regional threat to health and safety as a result of flooding is absolutely critical. So the city of Highland Park has taken a lead in that regard. We have representatives from the Army Corps of Engineers, Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, East Skokie Drainage District, and all of our neighboring communities that are going to be participating in that meeting. We'll provide individual reports and continue the conversation for a regional stormwater management solution. And then finally, we talked at our last city council meeting about Halloween. So just wanted to give a quick update on that. The Illinois Municipal League has been in touch with the governor's office and has requested restrictions or guidelines as it pertains to Halloween. So if they do develop anything, we'll certainly share them with the public. What we have done thus far is we are in communication with the Park District. The Park District has put together a number of wonderful family-friendly and individual programs that would be coordinated in a safe manner in light of the pandemic. So we encourage people to check out the Park District's website for all the Park District programs. In the event individuals want to go trick-or-treating, we have put together guidelines to help ensure that they are safe as well as the public is safe. So, for example, if individuals do not want their homes on a trick-or-treat route, we are advising them not to turn on a front light. If a homeowner wishes to participate in trick-or-treating, then turn on your light. We also have some guidelines in there just to make sure that people that are trick-or-treating are doing so in a safe and healthy way. So please check out our website for those guidelines. And there was some confusion as well that we saw on social media where we are encouraging people to go out and go trick-or-treating. That's not the case. We recognize Halloween is on a Saturday this year. We recognize that some people are going to want to trick-or-treat. And so if that's the case, we've put together guidelines and we ask everyone to pay heed to that really for everyone's health and safety.
Councilman Noble.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager Newkirk. Thank you so much. I have gotten so much feedback about Halloween, positive and negative. Can I ask a favor? Can we, and this is really to the whole community, not shame people if they are trick-or-treating and not shame people if they are not participating. And if we could put something in our guidelines, because people are now cutting and pasting our guidelines and shaming everybody and they haven't even done anything yet. But if we could just add a note about that, and also to be respectful if someone doesn't have their lights on, just keep moving along. I think the people who are trick-or-treating may be surprised by how many people are not participating, and they're all excited to send their kids out for disappointment. So there's a little bit of balance. If we might make a quick note in our guidelines that are being shared widely on social media, I think that might be helpful, especially the shaming in both directions. It's just not fair and it's not appropriate. It's counterproductive.
Right.
But thank you for the comprehensive report, and thank you to the staff for putting the guidelines together and suggestions for some creative ideas.
Thank you. And great ideas coming from the Park District, which is terrific alternative to trick-or-treating. Did you want to say anything about the census, or are we not pursuing that at this meeting? Just people should fill out their census forms online. We're coming up to the deadline, right? It's at the end of the month?
Correct. Yes, it is at the end of this month. And then there are census workers that are contacting people as well. So we have some safety guidelines on our website for public information as well.
There's a link. Is there a link to the census, I think, on the website that people can get to? And it's just important that everybody recognize that this is how money is appropriated. I mean, this is how we end up getting resources to build roads, build bridges, clean sidewalks, do everything that people appreciate about living in town. So thank you. Great. Is there anything else?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Super. All right. Well, wishing everybody continued good health. And I'm with you, Councilman Noble. No more shaming. Let's just go forth. You be you and care for your neighbor. And remember that everybody is carrying more burdens than they're probably expressing. So let's try to be kind to each other. With that, I seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, we will vote on our adjournment motion.
Councilman Stolberg, Councilwoman Stone,
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman,
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg,
Aye.
Councilman Noble,
Aye.
Councilman Holloman,
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. We are adjourned. Great to see everybody. And our next meeting is Tuesday, September 29th. For those who celebrate, we wish you a happy and healthy and sweet New Year. Take care. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.